Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. It was December 17, 1993, that a crowd first gathered here to greet the nation's most closely kept aviation secret. 172 feet of aircraft, all wing, no tail. The B-2 Spirit made a lasting impression. Nearly 100 years earlier, men had dreamt that the flying wing was the future of flight and the future of war. But it wasn't until the early 1930s that the dream became a reality, when two young brothers, Weimer and Walter Horton, first began to design wings for the new Nazi regime. With the outbreak of World War II in 1939, the brothers continued their groundbreaking work under a shroud of secrecy. By 1941, they are exploring the use of a transport wing to help in the planned invasion of Britain. May 1945, Nazi Germany is smashed into submission, and with it are its hopes and dreams of building a flying wing aircraft. At the same time, another German, Alexander Lippisch, is working on his own wing design, when in late 1941, his Me-163 Comet crosses the 600-mile-per-hour barrier for the first time. The potential of rocket power combined with a flying wing design could change aviation history. But while post-war America continues to build conventional aircraft such as the B-29, one man pursues his vision. In 1946, Jack Northrop tests his massive 400-mile-per-hour XB-35 flying wing. Powered by 4 turboprop engines, this aircraft is seen by some as the bomber of the future. Powered by 8 Allison jet engines, this 172-foot wingspan Goliath is capable of flying at over 500 miles per hour at a ceiling of 40,000 feet. Jack Northrop has taken the American wing off the design boards and into the air. Jack Northrop's vision for his flying wing is not just as a bomber. He also sees it as a passenger aircraft. Because the wing could carry far greater loads than conventional aircraft, his airliner would be capable of carrying 80 passengers with an observation lounge and an ability to fly coast to coast in 4 hours. But the YB-49's days are numbered. Although years ahead of its time, it is incredibly difficult to fly, and without computers to help control it, the U.S. Air Force feels that as a bomber, it is too unstable and dangerous. In late 1949, and in an unprecedented decision, the government orders that all Northrop YB-49s are to be destroyed. The flying wing looks destined to be dumped into the circular file of history. The first American aircraft anything like the B-2 emerged in the 1940s with the XB-35. A bat-wing shape was designed to create maximum airlift for long-range bombing missions. The YB-49 followed it. Same shape, more advanced, but stealth was still not a consideration. That came in the 1960s with a focus on the Cold War. Lockheed built the SR-71 and gave it some stealth qualities, including a skin with special radar-absorbing materials. The SR-71 was a long-range spy plane, but not a nuclear war deterrent. For that, the United States needed a stealth bomber. Reducing the radar signature meant no tail on a curved design. Ideas and innovations that took a leap forward with a paper published in 1964 by a mathematician on the other side. After years of working behind a complete screen of secrecy, the team of visionaries at Northrop have rewritten the rules of aircraft design.
The legend goes this way. When the YB-49 contract was canceled and the Air Force ordered those airplanes all cut up for scrap, Jack proceeded to destroy all that data. So our design was from scratch with the confidence that it would all work because Jack had done the YB-49. November 79, Jack was in his 80s. He did have to sign a security agreement before he came into the meeting. Jack was asked to open a box and lift out what was inside, and there was a small model of the B-2. Tears came to his eyes, and he said, "Now I know why God has kept me alive for 25 years." He immediately started to ask technical questions, the wingspan and the lift-to-drag ratio and the wing loading and all of these aerodynamic numbers. As my co-designer, Irv Wallen, would tell him what our answers were, he would then remember immediately what it was for the YB-49. It was a very emotional moment. Not many people of the current aviation generation have the opportunity to interface with the guy whose name is on the door of the company.
The technological array is awesome, with over 130 onboard computers controlling every element of the aircraft. The B-2 is like years ahead of anything yet built. A variety of techniques are combined to make this aircraft almost invisible to radar. Its smooth surface and shape consists of all curves, yet they are not consistently identical. The aircraft appears to continually change shape from whatever angle it is viewed, thereby confusing the radar, and whatever beams are locked onto it are either reflected into outer space or are reduced and dissipated into nothing. The B-2 is coated with special RAM, radar-absorbent materials, such as carbon fiber composites and top-secret reflective paint that further reduces its detection from the enemy. Finally, its electronic countermeasures, such as jamming an enemy's radar, make this aircraft almost undetectable. In fact, the B-2's radar cross-section is 1,000 times less than that of the B-52. Weapons giant the Northrop Corporation combined the stealth design with radar-absorbing paint and materials. The stealth code was cracked. They could make a plane invisible to radar. They couldn't hide the price tag. $2.13 billion per plane. At the time, the same cost as 13 747 passenger jets. Why so much? Just over $1 billion per plane for materials and manufacture, making the B-2 literally worth its weight in gold. Then, Northrop also had to set up a special top-secret plant to build the planes, and before that, they spent $20 billion on research and development. That cost was to be spread over the initial order of 132 aircraft, but only 21 were ever built.
was that whole part of testing the aircraft. You had to develop special test equipment. We didn't really have test equipment and diagnostics for low observables. And one by one, the team was very innovative, and they developed from scratch various machines and tools to help check out that aircraft, to gain the confidence to be able to predict, yes, we now know that this plane is going to meet all the criteria that's in the engineering drawings. It's good to go, and you could go fly and succeed with low observable properties. That was a huge undertaking.
"20 B-2s remain. The 21st became a case study. Even a $2 billion plane can have a fatal flaw." February 23, 2008. The Spirit of Kansas takes off from the U.S. Air Force Base in Guam, the end of a 4-month deployment. The jet pitches up, then stalls. The pilots have a split second to work out if they can save the plane. Then, a wing hits the ground. They realize all is lost, and they eject. Just 17 seconds after takeoff, the B-2 crashes and bursts into flames. The culprit? Water. Guam's humidity causes speed sensors to malfunction. They tell the system it's going 14 miles an hour faster than its actual acceleration. The onboard computer commands full nose up. But without enough speed to support their high-pitched takeoff, they lose lift and crash. Other B-2 pilots find great comfort in the safe ejection of their colleagues. Would it work in combat? Some wondered if the B-2 would ever be tested. After first delivery to Whiteman, the B-2s sat at the ready for 6 long years. With the Cold War over, they languished. Then, the stealth bomber finally got its chance. Not in Russia or the Middle East, but in Yugoslavia.
We act to protect thousands of innocent people in Kosovo from a mounting military offensive. We act to prevent a wider war, to defuse a powder keg at the heart of Europe that has exploded twice before in this century with catastrophic results. And we act to stand united with our allies for peace. By acting now, we are upholding our values, protecting our interests, and advancing the cause of peace.
Serbian security forces execute 45 Kosovo Albanians. Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic amasses his forces on the Kosovo border.
We must act to save thousands of innocent men, women, and children from humanitarian catastrophe, from death, barbarism, and ethnic cleansing by a brutal dictatorship, and to save the stability of the Balkan region.
President Clinton calls on Whiteman's B-2 commanders. After a decade of nothing but practice runs, the stealth bombers finally had the chance to show what they can do. On a cold spring morning on March 24, 1999, in the skies over Yugoslavia, 2 B-2 stealth bombers are about to penetrate enemy airspace for the first time. In the cockpits, the 2-man crew was entering its 14th hour of continuous flying. Having refueled over the Mediterranean Sea, they move into stealth mode as the sleek shapes of the B-2s vanish into the night sky. the two B-2s separate, one above the other, and climbing to combat altitude, begin their carefully choreographed bomb runs. The B-2 pilots have no chaff, no flares, no high-speed afterburner, and no missiles to fire back. They only have one thing to protect them: their stealth. The two B-2s enter stealth mode. Pilots also switch off all unnecessary lights on the flight deck and climb to an altitude that reduces their contrails. 14 hours into their flight, pilots confirm the mission is a go. The aircraft shudder as they discharge 5 bombs from twin rotary pylons. The B-2's guided bombs strike Serbian airfields. 32 direct hits. The Serbs scramble a dozen MiG-29s. The enemy fighters scan the night sky for the B-2s. It's tense and dangerous. NATO sends up fighter jets for added protection, but the B-2s follow their blue lines out of conflict. No sign of detection. Night 1, triumph and relief. But it's far from over. Whiteman expected the B-2s to be used for the first 3 days of the war only. Instead, NATO commanders call on the bombers again and again. The demand strains resources, but the results speak for themselves. 8 out of 10 targets hit on the first pass. In the first 8 weeks of combat, the B-2s only fly 3% of the combat sorties, but strike 33% of all targets. On June 10, 1999, the war in Kosovo ends when Serbia finally agrees to a peace deal. NATO used no ground forces at all, but relied entirely on air power.
Well, I didn't know I was going to fly for a career. It just kind of happened for me. So back in my neighborhood, we were on the final approach path into Offutt Air Force Base. So we would ride our bikes up to the old Omaha airport. Up there were 3 B-25s. And on Saturday mornings, we'd go up there and play bomber crew. And you wonder what it's like. Started college, I went into ROTC, ended up going down a navigator path, and next thing you know, I'm graduating, and eventually I had enough hours. I get a call one day, and it's from my commander, and he says, you're going to Euro-NATO joint jet pilot training. That's when the first rumors were out there that the B-2 would be coming out, and what the crew makeup might be, and this and that. But then as Kosovo became more the attention of the world, and I was selected to be among the first few. A lot of the design of the B-2 cockpit came from the F-111, so it was an easier transition for me. It was clearly a lot heavier than other aircraft that I've flown, so I could feel the weight of it getting airborne for the first time. You're not maneuverable. If they pick you up on radar, there's nothing you can do. First time ever that those would be used in combat, so it's all about survivability. That night, my commander, and he stands up and says, "You're executed. You're going into combat." So we're both packed in our seats. We've got our helmets on, visors down, our mask is up, and outside is just jet black. I could see every star. I felt every emotion at once. Continued eastbound, press in on our plan. Our time to go begins driving down, 60 seconds, 30, 20, and then 5 seconds, the bay doors come open. I could feel it in the seat of my pants, and then 3, 2, 1, the first weapon releases, the second weapon releases, and then pretty soon that very quiet night, an image, it changed in a heartbeat. all that while, those seconds seem like minutes, and you're like, oh, we're giving them angles. If they didn't know we were there before, they'd certainly be looking for us now. Running on adrenaline, we were fairly low on fuel, so we found our tanker. Now we have enough fuel to get home. Approached the eastern seaboard. Yeah, could finally hear American voices. It just felt good. We pressed inbound, checked in, and air traffic control didn't say anything. Here you are, okay? Yeah, I always get emotional when I talk about seeing the U.S. again after all that. I'm very lucky, very proud, and very fortunate to have had the opportunity. Just about anybody who's contributed to the B-2 gave me the tools and technology I needed to do what I had to do, and I'm really just proud of that airplane.
So I was at the space shuttle program, maybe 10 years at the time. Northrop had bought the Ford plant in Pico Rivera to do work. And at the time, nobody knew what it is we were doing. So they went after Ed. They got Ed to come to Northrop. And as soon as he got there and saw what was going on, he said, Chris, you need to come over. And I said, you're asking me to go into the unknown. And he says, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. So I quit my job and I signed on at Northrop. I went, there was a wooden mock-up of the B-2 bomber. I saw her and I thought, oh my God.
I think the predominant thing for me was fascination. You know, nothing in the engineering training explicitly prepares you for whatever job you drop into, with the exception of probably a few techniques and tools here and there, at least for the kinds of jobs I was doing. It was more about, wow, this is the opportunity to learn everything I possibly can about this cool airplane. I mean, it was like a kid in Candyland. You go to these design reviews, and for me, it was more interesting to see how the system worked, how the different systems talk to each other, why we did certain things about designing those features into those subsystems, what were the consequences of failure. You know, we analyzed failure modes and effects. So, I mean, I was fascinated and thought all that stuff was cool, and, you know, shot out of bed every morning to go do it. That's pretty much been the trend for 33 years.
I remember standing up there closing the banquet, and I looked out at the people out there, and I said, you humble people. And they really were. None of us ever wanted a lot of credit. We were pleased to do what we did. I think things like stealth and B-2s just makes a great statement about the capability of this country to do something that it wants to. You stand back and look at some of the things these people have achieved. It's pretty impressive, and continues to this day.
Gaze back out. All right, so here on to the bottom. Copy that, sir. Your offload complete. Disconnecting now. Disconnect. Clear, you top up 1 foot.
The B-2 is the cutting edge of technological warfare. Its ability to use stealth and its enormous range to reach any target unchallenged is second to none. The technology of the B-2 is so cutting edge that the United States Air Force has the B-2 on its books until 2040. It's a stamp of confidence that this 21st century warrior will be more than capable to deliver weapons of the future against enemies not yet known.
So there was that whole part of testing the aircraft. You had to develop special test equipment. We didn't really have test equipment and diagnostics for low observables. And one by one, the team was very innovative and they developed from scratch various machines and tools to help check out that aircraft to gain the confidence to be able to predict, yes, we now know that this plane is going to meet all the criteria that's in the engineering drawings. It's good to go, and you can go fly and succeed with low observable properties. That was a huge undertaking.
You know, I was young and there was a lot of designers that I worked side by side with, and they made sure that you were teamed up with a more senior person so that you could learn and grow. You saw the commitment that Northrop Grumman had made to make sure that everybody was successful, not only, you know, the people, but the programs. I think that that Kevlar duct that I designed and finished, knowing exactly that I had completed it and met all the standards and went through all the process of design checks and such, was really exciting for me, thinking, you know, this is going to be part of the future B-2 bomber. You know, it was quite an accomplishment for me.
The B-2 is a stealth aircraft capable of carrying the 15-ton Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or MOP. These bombs can knock out installations buried deep underground.
I mean, to me, it projects and communicates freedom. I mean, it really does. This aerodynamic flying wing bomber that you never would think would fly. Every time I see it fly over the Rose Bowl, I see it fly out of Palmdale or Edwards or out of Whiteman Air Force Base. It just projects freedom for this nation, but also that of our allies. Just knowing the capabilities of that weapon system, and yes, never wanting to necessarily use it, but when we do have to use those capabilities, knowing that it's going to work right every time, protect our allies, protect our men and women in the Department of Defense. That's what I think about when I see B-2.
Her stealth silenced her critics. Through 20 years of trials and triumphs, the B-2 has managed to stay ahead of America's enemies, learning from each new conflict, adapting and upgrading.
There's a lot of things unique about the B-2, and of course the first thing is you can't go anywhere without people driving their cars off the road and stopping and getting their cameras out. You know, wherever you go, you're going to get attention. So you really can't go anywhere in the daytime and not be noticed and make a big commotion. On the other hand, flying in combat, and we do that mostly at night, it's all about stealthiness. It's all about being quiet, being sneaky, getting in and out, and not being detected. So it's a paradigm shift My motivation was not only to help deliver an airplane that was lethal and stealthy and did all the wonderful things it was designed to do, but also bring the command into a whole new mindset of warfare, taking us from old dumb bomb mindset into this idea of precision and stealthiness as our new way of doing business.